With the WINN FM News, I am Kevin Brown.
And I am Yolana Weeks.
Our top stories.
Land acquisition issue causes delay in constructing St. Peter's bus station.
St. Kitts and Nevis Prime Minister admonishes social media posts inventing murders. ETA goes into effect for St. Kitts and Nevis non-visa travelers to the United Kingdom. 60% increase in workplace deaths recorded in Guyana. Prime Minister Dickon Mitchell pledges to confront challenges in Grenada's healthcare system regardless of the political consequences. Internationally, France says that the European Union could lift some serious sanctions quickly. Now, the details. During WINN's Weekly Dose segment of Island Tea with Dr. Natalie Osborne on January 7th, 2025, the doctor engaged listeners in a discussion about healthy eating habits and the significant impact of sugar consumption as the Federation embarks into the new year. Dr. Osborne, in educating the public to achieve healthier lifestyles and promote overall longevity and wellness, the doctor highlighted the everyday holiday indulgences, including decadent cakes and sugar treats, and discussed how these seasonal delights often lead to excess sugar consumption. Discussing the concept of dry January, Dr. Osborne highlighted that many alcoholic beverages also contain significant amounts of sugar.
Alcohol does have a lot of sugar in it, so the facts are undeniable. So we know that sugar is in all foods that contains carbohydrates. Fruits, your vegetables, grains, dairies.
Dr. Osborne differentiated between natural sugars in whole foods and added sugars with health risks.
But the problem is, Jamster, is when we have too much added sugar. So we're not talking about the natural sugars in the body, it's the added sugar.
She highlighted alarming statistics such as studies showing that the average adult male consumes around 24 teaspoons of added sugar daily, which equates to approximately 384 calories.
Americans consume over 17 teaspoons of added sugar each day, and that equals to about 57 added pounds every year.
As the dialogue shifted to maintaining a healthier weight, Dr. Osborne clarified the connection between sugar and obesity.
We know that obesity rates are rising throughout the world too. All right. And a lot of it is associated with sugar sweetened beverages. So that contributes a lot. All the Coke, Coca-Cola, all these Pepsis and Sprites and all these things, they're loaded with a lot of high fructose, which is a simple sugar, and it is not the best sugar for us.
Indicating that these drinks, often full of fructose corn syrup, contribute significantly to weight gain. She emphasized that sugary foods fail to curb hunger, leading to overeating. Dr. Osborne elaborated on how too much sugar is converted into fat, particularly visceral fat, which poses serious health threats.
That is the most
difficult
fat. That is the fat that's on your tummy, that's attached to your organs on the inside, that leads to metabolic syndrome, insulin resistance, and it leads to a lot of things, okay? So we know that. So consuming too much added sugar going to lead to obesity. That glucose or sugar, it is converted into fat. Once the need for glucose is satisfied in your cells in the body, the excess is then converted and stored into fat. That is why we start getting our love handles when we continue to overeat. So the obesity is one of the major results of high sugar consumption.
In response to co-host Cortensia's query about sugar's effect on brain health, Dr. Osborne pointed out that while glucose is essential for brain energy and functions like memory and decision-making, excess sugar can interfere with cognitive abilities and mood.
High glucose consumption is associated with diseases, different types of dementia, like Alzheimer's. So once you have those high levels of blood sugar added in your body, it can create problems we know like diabetes, and diabetes is also associated with cognitive impairment. So your memory, your thinking clearly and stuff. It also affects your mood and your mental health.
Transitioning to the cardiovascular ramifications of sugar, Dr. Osborne explained how high sugar consumption damages blood vessels and increases the likelihood of heart disease.
Studies show that over a 15-year period, a study, people who got 17 to 21% of their calories from added sugar had a 38% increase in the risk of dying from cardiovascular disease. When you hear cardiovascular disease, you're thinking the heart and any kind of vessel injury, things like stroke.
Dr. Osborne also discussed the impacts of sugar on skin health and its association with aging.
All these sugars, right? It creates these different substances and it helps to destroy your collagen and your elastin. Those are nice, good stuff that keep your skin supple. Okay, and once you start messing with those collagen, as you get older, they naturally decrease, but you can speed that up with your consumption of sugar and these processed foods.
By deteriorating these essential skin components, excessive sugar consumption accelerates the aging process. Addressing the issues around diabetes, especially type 2, Dr. Osborne indicated that increased sugar intake strains the pancreas, leading to insulin resistance and potential diabetes development. Dr. Osborne summarized the discussion by encouraging healthier alternatives and lifestyle changes.
I've always told my patients there's a couple main things you've got to keep looking out for. And these are 3: non-communicable disease, diabetes, hypertension, obesity. You can almost link everything to those 3. So what you want to do, once you have all this excess sugar, it can increase your risk of developing diabetes. We spoke about that before. It putting more demand on your pancreas to keep producing this insulin. These cells get damaged and worn out, and that is why over time you can develop this type 2 diabetes. So if you eliminate or decrease all these excess additive sugars, you decrease your demand on the pancreas for the insulin and makes it much easier on your body.
The doctor's insights provided a compelling perspective on sugar consumption and its far-reaching health effects. She encouraged a collective agreement on the importance of awareness and proactive change toward better health practices and encourage community members to prioritize their well-being in 2025.
Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, Dr. Terence Drew, made a clarion call for motorists to give way to emergency vehicles and also obey traffic regulations. The call follows 2 ambulance-involved accidents on December 19, 2024 and January 2, 2025, among other accidents.
When the accident took place, especially the one, I think it was going to Frigate Bay to get a patient, I went to the hospital to see the EMTs who were involved in that accident. I went to see them. And in speaking to them, they said to me, they had on their flashers, their sirens, their horn, and persons just were not pulling over. And so I want to appeal to our people that when we see the emergency vehicles, police, ambulances, fire, and so forth, we need to do what we were taught while we were learning to drive. Give way, pull on this side, give way. And so the ambulance, they are trying to get to the patient as quickly as possible. A driver in front of the ambulance would not move. The ambulance tried to move, then they moved late, and so the accident occurred.
An ambulance costs a lot. They are not cheap at all, Drew expressed at the January 7 roundtable discussion. A fleet of ambulances is expected to arrive in the Federation in February, which includes the 5 ambulances from the Toyota brand. The Prime Minister anticipates that the new fleet would ease some of the pressure following the recent loss of ambulances.
An ambulance is critically important. And so we have invested in a new fleet, a fleet of Toyota brand, because we think that here in St. Kitts and Nevis, Toyota is well known to mechanics, well known to drivers. Parts are easy to get. And because of that, we will have a longer shelf life per ambulance. Not only that, based on our roads, we have to choose ambulances that could fit on our roads and fit up our small alleys and so forth. Sometimes the ambulance go to pick up somebody. If you have these large ambulances that are built for highways in the United States and so forth, the ambulance can't go up to the alley to pick up that person who needs to come down. So you have to park outside and carry up a trolley and try to bring them down, or a wheelchair, which is not the most ideal situation. And so therefore we are buying ambulances that are fit for purpose here in St. Kitts and Nevis. So they will be here very, very soon, next month. And so we should have the launch of our new fleet of ambulances. But it is sad that we lost one ambulance and another seemed to have been lost. It's a challenging period, but we'll do everything to make sure that our people get the service that they deserve. So in the next few weeks, we will have enough ambulances here in St. more than enough here in St. Kitts and Nevis.
Meanwhile, general road safety needs to be prioritized, the Prime Minister explained, as he remembered the victims of the recent spate of traffic accidents and the loved ones and communities in mourning. Drew encouraged road users to respect the traffic regulations.
I want to encourage our people to respect the traffic rules. We have seen a lot of accidents, and I want to really extend my deepest condolences to those families that are, aching at this time because of the loss of life, the communities. What we have seen is disregard for the traffic rules and regulations, people driving too fast, not respecting the traffic regulations. And so I would like to ask our people to respect the traffic rules and regulations. You might be saving your own life.
A task force with the oversight of the Attorney General Garth Wilkin had been working assiduously to develop measures to further encourage road safety.
The government is still far from fully implementing the National Health Insurance Scheme, NHI, an initiative that has been in the discussion phase for several years. At present, the focus is shifting towards reforms within the Social Security system, which is expected to manage the deductions for those participating in the program. In 2023, Government Advisor on National Health Insurance, Dr. Patrick Martin, confirmed that the framework for the NHI had been completed. The next step lies with the Cabinet, where the documentation, including the actuarial report, is under review.
The National Health Insurance, we need two things. We need Social Security reform. And you can't have National Health Insurance as another major social safety net without taking care of the Social Security matter. Because if you're going to go to the people, National Health Insurance, the people have to contribute something from their salaries. It's a given. You cannot have a National Health Insurance plan without contributions from the people. But that is why you have to go to the people and have meaningful discussion with the people so that the people can be on board with giving up some of their salaries and wages towards a national health insurance plan.
Prime Minister Dr. Terence Drew, speaking at Tuesday's Roundtable event, addressed the ongoing challenges related to Social Security. He noted that the system is currently undergoing reforms to ensure its long-term solvency.
40-something years on, there has been no changes to Social Security. The actual report then said that Social Security would need reform and upgrades periodically to keep it viable and solvent. Fancy words to mean keep it alive. Because nothing was done. At this point in time, the actuary is saying to us that we must act now. If we don't act now, Social Security can be so severely damaged, it will be challenging to get it back to where it is now. So we have to act now. So we have to go to the people with two things. Social Security, I know, has gone to the people already to talk about the reforms and saying to people, if we need Social Security to survive, these are some of the reforms that the experts are recommending.
Despite these discussions, a critical question remains: what will the deductible amount be for individuals across the Federation? The scheme is intended to cover all residents, including those with pre-existing conditions. Reports suggest that the younger working population may bear the financial burden of covering individuals with these conditions. When questioned during the 2023 media engagement about the cost of the NHI, Dr. Martin stated, quote, "In the final analysis, it is how we are going to pay for it. It's an EC 220 million question per year," end quote.
The ball and the can was being kicked down the road all the time. I don't have the luxury that Harris had to kick the can down the road. Did nothing about Social Security. Now it is upon us to do something. So we have to engage the people in two discussions: Social Security reform and national health insurance instead of one. So it makes the package now a package that has to be brought to the people, but the package will ask for contribution if that is what the people decide they would do. So it cannot be done by just politicians alone. You need the technicians, the experts, and to take that to the people and let the people weigh in and decide.
A significant challenge facing both the Federation and the NHI program is the prevalence of non-communicable diseases, NCDs. Conditions such as heart disease, hypertension, and cancer remain the leading causes of death in the territory.
So we have everything. I spoke to the actuary recently. Everything now is prepared. Social security went, national health insurance now has to go to the people, and a package has to go to the people to say this is what we'll require from you as contribution to keep social security alive and to bring on national health insurance.
Ongoing discussions will likely continue with public consultation planned to determine the way forward.
A new bus station for the St. Peter's area has long been discussed, and some bus operators have grown wary of the inaction. Prime Minister Honorable Dr. Terence Drew said efforts are underway to provide the bus operators and commuters with a facility for shelter and restrooms, but there has been an issue with acquiring a piece of land that was recommended at College Street Gut. According to Dr. Drew at the January 7 roundtable, the landowner is asking for a price multiple times above the market price, which could potentially cause collateral effects if the government agrees to that cost.
We have approached the private person to purchase land on the College Street area. That evaluation has been done. However, what I've been told, what is being asked for, is so much greater than the price of the land in that area that I'm being told by the legal persons that if you were to engage in such, you can artificially increase the land price in that area and have other effects. So I want to be transparent with that. We approach a private person to purchase the land, and we are willing to pay even a reasonable amount above the market price. But the price that was being presented was way above market, multiple times, not just an increase, but multiple times the market price for the size of land and the location of the land.
Dr. Drew, who is also the parliamentary representative for the St. Peter's area, said that once a deal is made on the land, the government will proceed to construct the bus station. During a visit to the assembly point for St. Peter's commuters in early December 2024, some bus operators who chose to remain anonymous told WINN FM that they were tired of the empty promises and that they would continue to watch and see what the government would do over the coming months. One bus operator said the recommended land space had been cleared of bush and garbage on several occasions, and pictures had been taken there as though something was about to happen. However, another bus operator was adamant that the St. Peter's bus station would not be mentioned in the 2025 fiscal year budget, which was slated to be presented a few days later. He argued that the authorities were not serious about the matter, as budget after budget had not included a concrete plan for construction. A third bus operator told WINN FM that he thought the station would already be on the way, but he also acknowledged that major projects could take some time to execute. WINN FM briefly spoke to the St. Peter's Bus Association president, who said the government knows the desire and importance of the facility as they have been discussing it. He said the bus operators also asked for several things which were granted, and they appreciated the gestures. He said they will continue to work with the government to see the facility come to fruition.
In the recent roundtable interview on January 7, 2025, Prime Minister, the Honorable Dr. Terence Drew, passionately addressed concerns over fabricated crime statistics circulating on social media. His statement comes on the heel of a notable decline in homicides across the Federation during and following the 90-day campaign against crime and violence, with reports indicating a drop in crime rates in the last few months. During the interview, Prime Minister Drew expressed his frustration about misleading claims that attempt to distort the reality of crime in St. Kitts and Nevis.
The last thing I want to touch on is the issue of crime. The reason why I want to touch that, there are people out there who want to see murders. You go on Facebook and they vex that no murders taking place. Inventing murders, saying you have 10 unintentional homicides. What is that?
This admonition reflects ongoing tensions in the community concerning how crime statistics are discussed and portrayed. The Prime Minister urged the public to shift their focus towards celebrating the achievements in crime reduction, highlighting that there has been a significant decline in both shootings and homicides, particularly involving young people.
I can't understand how this can be the platform of a political party. You should be celebrating with the country that for the last 4 months we saw a significant decline in shootings and killing of our young people fundamentally. Our young people deserve to live. When they choose life over death, celebrate it. Don't invent numbers and try to spread this bad name, St. Kitts. Can you imagine people online trying to say we have more homicides than we actually had. Can you imagine down the line telling people we had 10 unintentional homicides because they want to spread bad news about St. Kitts and Nevis? This is what Times toilet paper is engaging in.
He continued imploring citizens to recognize the positive trend rather than perpetuating negativity. His remarks underscore the impact of false narratives on the perception of safety and order within the Federation. Recent statistics corroborate the Prime Minister's claims, showing that homicides in St. Kitts and Nevis have decreased by more than 70% over previous quarters. The Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force reported that firearm-related homicides have dramatically decreased, indicating a promising trend toward public safety. Evidence suggests the success of various intervention programs, including the 90-day campaign against crime and violence, which began on September 6, 2024, aimed at addressing the root causes of criminal behavior through community-driven solutions and mental health support. The Prime Minister defended the transformative efforts of law enforcement and community organizations, expressing gratitude to all campaign participants and recognizing their hard work in fostering a safer environment.
And I want to thank the security forces and all those who were involved in the 90-day campaign and so forth, which has brought significant relief for our people. We'll continue to work to keep our people safe, and through the citizen security strategy, we'll continue to implement our plans and our programs.
The Prime Minister urged the citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis to reject the spread of misinformation and unite in support of their community's progress.
The young people are choosing life, and let us continue to choose life in a proper way of living.
As St. Kitts and Nevis continue to implement strategic measures through its citizen security strategy, the country is responsible for upholding and celebrating the ongoing progress in combating crime, according to the Prime Minister. This emphasizes the importance of unity and accurate representation in the nation's safety and well-being discourse. As of January 8, 2025, the United Kingdom has officially implemented the Electronic Travel Authorization, or ETA, requirement for short-term travelers from St. Kitts and Nevis. The policy change mandates that Kittitians and Nevisians must secure an ETA before entering the United Kingdom, explicitly completing their application at least 72 hours before arrival at any UK border. The ETA, which incurs a nominal fee of £10, signifies a substantial advancement in the United Kingdom's efforts to digitize and enhance the efficiency of its border control system. This requirement targets travelers who do not need a visa for entry, providing a streamlined process for those planning stays of 6 months or less within the United Kingdom. Applicants can initiate their ETA application by downloading the United Kingdom ETA app, available on Google Play or the Apple App Store, or by visiting the official gov.uk website. The application process is designed to be straightforward, involving a set of questions and the submission of basic personal information. Ultimately, travelers can expect to receive a decision within 3 working days. However, the processing time may be expedited for those utilizing the UK ETA app, facilitating an even faster travel experience. This rollout comes on the heels of a successful introduction of the ETA for nationals of the Gulf Cooperation Council (GCC) in the previous year. This initial phase saw over 243,000 Gulf nationals receiving ETAs in the first half of 2024, allowing them to enjoy more accessible travel to the United Kingdom for short visits. This has set a precedent for further expansion of the ETA program, fostering bilateral relations and bolstering tourism. The introduction of the ETA for St. Kitts and Nevis is expected to have significant implications for various stakeholders, including the travel industry and local businesses in the United Kingdom. By simplifying travel requirements, the United Kingdom aims to boost its appeal as a destination for Caribbean travelers, enhancing tourism and cultural exchange. As travel dynamics evolve in a post-pandemic world, the introduction of the ETA marks an integral move in the United Kingdom's strategy to accommodate an influx of travelers while ensuring border security. In regional news, 60% increase in workplace deaths recorded in Guyana, Guyana News Source reports.
Guyana recorded a 60% increase in labor deaths last year. According to the Minister of Labour, Joe Hamilton, a total of 32 persons died on the job in 2024. Minister Hamilton said the on-the-job fatality rate has returned to the rate that existed 5 years ago, when 30 deaths were recorded in 2020. At a press conference, the minister explained that the majority of the deaths occurred in the mining and construction sectors, with the mining and quarrying sector being responsible for 48% of the fatal accidents.
We started in 2020, 32 persons lost their lives. And then up until 2023, it was 21, right, Ms. King? 22. Regrettably, with all that we have done in 2024, 32 persons lost their lives in workplaces, primarily in mining and construction. That is where most of the deaths are happening.
While the number of fatal accidents has increased significantly, the number of non-fatal accidents declined by 5%. The majority of non-fatal accidents continue to occur in the agriculture sector, the minister reported. Minister Hamilton said both employers and employees have been found to be culpable in many of the cases, explaining that some employees fail to adhere to basic occupational health and safety measures, including the wearing of protective gear. In other cases, persons were found to have resorted to operating or raiding mining pits at night, resulting in their deaths and injuries. Minister Hamilton said the Labour Ministry has been engaging in extensive training and sensitization exercises in workplaces across the country, with the hope of changing what he called a don't give a damn attitude and culture, particularly in the mining and construction sectors.
If you go into mining districts, it is not easy to, as much as you're trying. We have done a lot of work, sensitization. We have gone in there with flyers, with this. We have spent days with them. Officers have gone in the camps, stayed in the camps. Have a conversation with them, speak to them about mining practices. We have a joint technical committee with GGMC, with the Guyana Gold and Miners Association. But I don't think any country has yet worked out. How do you deal with, and then medium miners, big miners are not your issue. And the issue in all jurisdictions is small miners.
Minister Hamilton assured that the Labour Ministry will continue to work with key stakeholders such as the Guyana Georgian Mines Commission and the Guyana Gold and Diamond Miners Association to bring down the number of workplace deaths and injuries. The Labour Ministry also intends to launch a media campaign to bring about greater awareness on occupational health and safety matters to be adopted and best practices in mining and construction, among other sectors, including the agriculture sector.
Prime Minister Dickon Mitchell pledges to confront challenges in Grenada's healthcare system regardless of the political consequences. Grenada Broadcasting Network has the details.
Prime Minister Dickon Mitchell has declared his readiness to address the critical issues plaguing Grenada's health sector, even if it risks his political career. Speaking as a guest on GBN's Beyond the Headline Monday night, the Prime Minister emphasized his commitment to reforming the health system.
Developing the healthcare system has to be comprehensively reformed.
No, agreed. But, just this receiving of help, both in terms of the voluntarism from the folks in diaspora and the accepting in Grenada, because that's an easy win and should be a low-hanging fruit.
Right. So I'm hoping we have an organization called GDAC, Grenada Diaspora Advisory Council, which has spent the last 2.5 years giving up the time and energy and bringing a lot of the medical professionals and so on in the diaspora together, whether from London, Canada, the US, and so on, who are ready and willing to go, frankly, at our request. It requires us, I'm saying here, the government, the Ministry of Health, Medical and Dental Council, hospital administration, staff and so on, to put the necessary arrangements in place that could allow for these medical professionals to begin to come and for us to enter into a rotation process.
Prime Minister Mitchell highlighted the urgent need for systematic reforms to confront the entrenched cultural practices hindering progress in delivering quality healthcare services in Grenada. According to the Prime Minister, many times professionals are willing to give back but are faced with challenges created by those who work in the healthcare system.
Obviously, as the Prime Minister of the country, I am prepared to tackle the challenge. I am prepared to be voted out of office for speaking the truth. Because mark my word, if we don't address this issue, 5, 10, 15 years from now, it will be even worse. And I don't think we can hide by saying, if you poll the public, people are not happy with the medical services that they receive, whether it's the state of the infrastructure, whether it's the state of care, or whether it's just the absence of the specialists that are needed. So I'm saying we could either do nothing and continue the situation, or accept that we have a major challenge and go about tackling that challenge.
The PM noted possible ways to revert to these practices for the betterment of the health sector and the Grenadian people.
I think the entire medical fraternity in Grenada needs to address this cultural issue. I'm not a doctor, but I can tell you as the Prime Minister, we sometimes feel as if we are fighting against medical professionals sometimes to get them to receive help from their colleagues. And I'm unapologetic about that because it is the truth. Whether it's basic things like getting persons who are, and it's pro bono. Right. And so it's a culture that has changed. I don't understand why, because it seems to me it is presiding over failure. The healthcare system has to be comprehensively reformed.
No, agreed. But, just this receiving of help, both in terms of the volunteerism from the folks in diaspora and the accepting in Grenada, because that's an easy win and should be a low-hanging fruit.
Right. So I'm hoping we have an organization called GDAC, Grenada Diaspora Advisory Council, which has spent the last 2.5 years giving up the time and energy and bringing a lot of the medical professionals and so on in the diaspora.
Rena P. Thomas, GBN News.
We now bring you these international reports.
France said on Wednesday some European Union sanctions on Syria could be lifted soon. A month after the end of Assad family rule, those sanctions are hindering the country's recovery and obstructing the delivery of humanitarian aid. France's Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot added that lifting more political sanctions would depend on how Syria's new leadership handled the transition and ensured inclusivity. In Damascus, Mohammed Badr said Syria's ailing economy and standard of living needed a boost.
The situation is way better than before, but there are some observations. First of all, people are tired. I totally respect all the new decisions. I respect everything that is happening. And I respect those who are working seriously. I respect everything. But the problem is that people are tired and people's incomes are low.
International flights have resumed for the first time since rebels toppled Bashar al-Assad on December 8th, and reunited families hugged and cried with joy. Bassem al-Hariri said he hadn't been back for more than a decade.
I'm a dissident police officer. I left Syria in 2012 and have not returned since then. I cannot describe my happiness. I needed a miracle to return via Damascus International Airport, and that miracle happened.
Life has also returned for the first time in many years to Mount Qassim, a much-loved viewpoint overlooking Damascus. A view of Syria's future is less clear. There are severe power shortages, with state-supplied electricity available only 2 or 3 hours per day in most areas. The trade minister in the caretaker government said on Monday that sanctions have been preventing Syria from making deals to import fuel, wheat and other key goods. 3 European diplomats speaking on condition of anonymity said the EU would agree to lift some sanctions by the time the bloc's foreign ministers meet in late January. 2 of the diplomats said one aim was to facilitate financial transactions to allow funds to return to the country, ease air transport, and lessen sanctions targeting the energy sector to improve power supplies. The United States on Monday issued a sanctions exemption for transactions with governing institutions in Syria for 6 months.
South Korea's impeached President Yoon Suk-yeol has been hunkered down behind barbed wire, defying efforts to place him under arrest. But he now faces a new effort to take him into custody, as a top investigator vowed to do whatever it takes to break the security blockade. Since Parliament voted to impeach and suspend Yoon last month over his short-lived martial law decree, he has been laying low at his official residence in Hanam-dong, an upscale district popular with business tycoons and celebrities, known as Korea's Beverly Hills. Meanwhile, protesters supporting and opposing him braved freezing temperatures to stage rallies in streets. Yoon's official residence has been fortified with rows of barbed wire and a small army of personal security. Experts say massive security is needed to ensure a smooth arrest. Ryu Sam-young is a member of the opposition Democratic Party and a former senior police officer.
Since the doors are blocked and the barricades along with the barbed wire have been set up, it is now necessary to mobilize special forces of the police and people with special skills to breach the obstacles. In order to safely control any situation that can happen, if there are around 300 to 400 people inside, we would need about 10 times that number of personnel and various equipment to remove the barricades. And the most important thing is to be prepared for safety issues. Emergency vehicles along with people who can give first aid should be in place.
Lee Hyung-yeok is a police science professor at Konkuk University, specializing in law enforcement. He said police have a clear advantage in terms of resources, such as helicopters, to drop in tactical units. However, he added, force should not be the only option considered. On Tuesday, the head of the Corruption Investigation Office apologized for failing to arrest the president last week. The Presidential Security Service and military guards blocked the investigators from arresting Yoon in a 6-hour standoff. The investigator told a parliament committee that the second warrant execution would be the last. One of Yoon's lawyers said the suspended president could not accept the execution of the arrest warrant. They argued that it was issued by a court in the wrong jurisdiction and that the team of investigators formed to probe the incumbent leader had no mandate to do so.
You were listening to the WINN FM 98.9 newscast. Our top stories were:
land acquisition issue causes delay in constructing St. Peter's bus station.
St. Kitts and Nevis Prime Minister admonishes social media posts inventing murders. ETA goes into effect for St. Kitts and Nevis non-visa travelers to the United Kingdom. 60% increase in workplace deaths recorded in Guyana. Prime Minister Dickon Mitchell pledges to confront challenges in Grenada's healthcare system regardless of the political consequences. Internationally, France says that the European Union could lift some serious sanctions quickly. Thank you for listening.